Miller Park in Milwaukee. I'm Greg Hofer. My next guest is a 2002 Rookie of the Year with the Toronto Blue Jays, a former Menasha Blue Jay, a former Arkansas Razorback, a 17th round pick of the Chicago Cubs, and he is a three-time World Series participant, twice winning the World Series. He is Eric Hinske. He's in his third year as a member of the Chicago Cubs coaching staff, his second as the assistant hitting coach. Eric, a pleasure. Thanks for joining us.
That's all right. Thanks for having me.
Now,
There's a long list of stuff there. Long list.
It's an impressive resume, and that's why we wanted to talk to you. And obviously, some great accomplishments throughout your career. And I always am fascinated by the backstory. Everybody sees what the team is doing now and that kind of stuff, but I'm always fascinated by the backstory. And growing up in Menasha, no shortage of influences. I'm wondering who had the biggest influence on you, because your brother plays for the Menasha Max. You have your dad who played till he was 43 years old on that same team. Yeah. And then your Grandpa George, actually played for the Giants. So you've got no shortage of influences in your baseball career and how you got here.
That's the three right there for sure. Grandpa, Dad, brother. So George, Mark, and Ryan were obviously the three biggest influences. My grandpa being obviously the most positive. It's just wanting me to be out there, do everything the right way. Actually wanted me to take a pitch and bunt all the time, along with my dad. Then I turned out to be about 240 pounds, so I had to learn how to hit home runs. And my brother, I will give him he just beat me up my whole life. 2 years older, him and his friends really didn't take it easy on me. So I had to get tough as a young kid, and they taught me a lot about all three games: football, basketball, baseball. So that's what we did every year, all the way up.
Yeah, Menasha, obviously here in Wisconsin, not exactly a hotbed. If for no other reason, you get maybe about 3 months of what I would call baseball weather. Mm-hmm. With such a small window, how did you develop the skills to become the big leaguer you are? I mean, you did hit 137 home runs in the big leagues. Pretty impressive.
Thank you. I think it's combined with a lot of hard work that always goes into it, but I think just wanting to do it and having the frame to be able to compete with such good athletes. It's a lot harder if you look like Dustin Pedroia and you're 5'6" and weigh 180 pounds. And I don't want to take that away from any small kids out there, but I was bigger. I was 6'2", about 215 when I was getting into high school. Getting into my senior years. So I had a passion for baseball all the way through, all sports. But my mom told me the other day on Mother's Day, she found a Mother's Day card for me, and it was something in school, and it said on it, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And it said, "I want to be a professional baseball player," and that was in 3rd grade. So I guess it was there my whole life, and all stemming from my brother, my father for sure, and my grandfather.
Menasha, a pretty small town, 17,000 or so folks.
Mm-hmm.
There was actually another big leaguer from Menasha, Dave Kozlow, played in the big leagues for 12 years, won 92 games. What are your fondest memories of playing on Kozlow Field growing up in Menasha?
Yeah, that was our high school field, so every high school baseball game I played was on that field, and Legion games, every all the way through. So I remember the infield was bad. There was a lot of rocks.
Redid it last year.
There was a lot of rocks in the infield. I took one off the chin one time, but
character builders.
Yeah, exactly. Taught me how to use my hands better. So a lot of fond memories there. Hitting some of my first home runs, or I actually didn't hit a lot of home runs till I got to college. Really, I was just trying to. The approach my dad and my grandpa taught me was, take a strike, hit the ball the other way, and I honestly really didn't know how to pull the ball the right way till I got a little bit older. So I never stopped learning all the way through, but learned obviously the grassroots of the game from my grandpa and my dad.
Now, we had Matt Erickson on about a month ago, and he obviously went to Arkansas. That's where you head off after you graduate from Menasha. He told us a fascinating story how he ended up there. Norm DeBryan was the coach at the time, and he always wanted to have a Wisconsin kid on the roster.
Yep.
You fill that role? Is that how you end up in Arkansas as well?
Mine's a sort of a similar story. I was going to go to Oshkosh. I was going to play football and baseball at Oshkosh. My brother was in school at UW Oshkosh, and my dad went to school there. So I had no real big-time scholarship offers to a Division I school. There was like, 25% scholarship rides, and I just thought, I'll stay home and I'll play both, because I wanted to play both. And I go to the sectionals or regionals or sectionals in high school my senior year, which is late for baseball, and Arkansas was coming back, and I heard they were coming back because Matt Erickson went there the year before. They had some ties to the Valley, and I was doing like a video. I remember doing a video with my dad and sending it to him, like me taking batting practice and ground balls and stuff. And then they sent Doug Clark. He was the hitting coach up at the time, and I met him, and I played a couple of games. I got like 10 hits in 2 games or something, and then they sent me down on a recruiting trip, got off the plane, and did a little roundabout, just view of the campus. They had some of them Diamond Doll girls take me around. I was like, wow, this place is pretty cool. I'm in. So got off the plane, signed up, and they gave me a full baseball, 82%, whatever they could give back then, and the rest is history. 3 years there, it was great.
Now, obviously, and I want to get this right, obviously it agreed with you like it did with Matt. 348 batting average, 30 home runs was 8th, 173 RBIs 5th, 55 doubles 9th, a 608 slugging percentage, which was 6th in your career. So obviously hitting there in the SEC, pretty good.
Wow, I was pretty good, huh? I didn't even know my. I'll tell you what, Matt was a good baseball player. Matt was the most impressive all-around player that I had ever played with up till that time. Like, he did everything right. He could bunt, he could hit and run, he did everything fundamentally sound on a baseball field, and I was this raw guy that could just basically hit. I could play no defense, I had a terrible arm, but I knew I could hit. So he actually taught me a lot about the game, and just that whole atmosphere in the SEC, playing in those stadiums, going to LSU and Mississippi State, all these places, it was amazing. It was exactly what I needed. I needed to get out of Wisconsin. I needed to get away from my family and just kind of become who I was going to be, and I think that was a big part of it too. And Matt's a great dude. All the success he's having, I mean, up there in Wisconsin, he's living at home and managing. It's so happy for him. I haven't seen him in a while, but we stay in touch a little bit from time to time.
So then after 3 really good years at Arkansas, you get drafted, as it turns out, by the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah.
In the 17th round, you go into the professional ranks. A lot of times there's an adjustment, but when you look at your minor league numbers, not a big adjustment for you going from the minors in the aluminum bat to the wood bat.
Yeah. So for me I remember I wasn't even going to sign. I was going to go back to Arkansas because I was mad that I went in the 17th round. And I was like, I thought I was going to go like the 6th, 7th, 8th round, somewhere like that. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to go back to school. And that's when my grandpa stepped in and he said, I'd play for free. You're being irrational. Go sign, go play. You get a year older, they'll forget about you. So I listened to his advice, and I'm off to Williamsport, Pennsylvania, in short season A-ball. And I hit well. I didn't even really think anything about it. I was just trying to, stay in the middle of the ball field. Didn't really care about the wood bat. I didn't have any fear about it, honestly. I just knew that I wanted to play baseball every day, and I just continued on and just kept going pretty much every year. I was really lucky to stay in the minor leagues for only 3 full seasons. I had a stop at a high A, a stop at Double A, and a stop in Triple A, and then the next year after a trade, I'm in the big leagues with Toronto. So it's crazy. Yeah.
And before you even get to the big leagues, you get traded twice.
Yes.
You go from the Cubs to the A's, and then from Oakland to Toronto, where you make your big league debut.
Yeah.
What's it like getting traded? I mean, you had to experience it twice there.
Yeah, I thought I did something wrong. Yeah, actually, when I first got traded, because I grew up a Cub fan, a Brewer fan and a Cub fan, but my grandpa was a big Cub fan. So we'd, come to however many games a summer here, and then probably 2 or 3 we'd go down to Wrigley. So, I wanted to be a Cub, and then all of a sudden I get called in the office at the end of spring training, said, we traded you to Oakland to keep a Rule 5 pick and for Miguel Cairo. And I'm like, what? Like, I don't want to go. But it turned out, when you get traded, that means the other team wants you. It's a good thing to get traded in the big leagues, because the other team that's getting you is going to give you an opportunity for sure. And they did. They put me right at third base in AAA. I spent the year in Sacramento and had a good year. And like you said, I got traded again. I got traded twice in 10 months. And, actually right after my grandfather passed away in 2001, I got traded like a week later. So I was like, I thought he was kind of pulling some strings up there to get me to the big leagues. So he passed away. I got traded to Toronto, and the GM called me and said, you're going to be our everyday third baseman. So that was awesome.
And it works out really well. 2002 American League Rookie of the Year with some incredible numbers. And actually, who finished 4th that year was John Lackey. So you beat out a Cub player as we speak.
Yeah, I got a couple guys in there. Lackey, I've faced a lot and didn't have a lot of success off so he's got that on me. But David Ross and Jason Hayward I played with for 3 years in Atlanta together. So I have some ties here and knew some of the coaches from being a minor league Cub guy stuff too. So it's a great organization. I just feel lucky to be part of what I consider the center of the baseball universe right now. So it's awesome to go to Wrigley to work every day.
12 years in the big leagues. You throughout that time, obviously 4 straight postseason appearances, 3 World Series, but you played along the way with some just iconic, transcendent Hall of Fame to be players. Let's start in 07. David Ortiz. What type of teammate was he? Do you remember?
Awesome dude. Nicest guy in the world. He's a big teddy bear, but when he steps in between the lines, he's a fierce competitor. So He was just ready to work every day, but wanted to have fun. Wanted you to make sure you didn't forget that, you know, this was a game on the way up. So don't take it too seriously. Make sure you have fun as well. But great guy, awesome.
In 2008, you go to the World Series with the Tampa Bay Rays. Game 4, pinch hit home run. Had to be. I know you lost that game and ultimately lost the series, but it had to be a great thrill hitting a home run in a World Series.
It was. Actually, I wasn't even active the series before, so I hadn't had an at bat, and gosh, it seemed like 3 weeks. And I get in there against Joe Blanton. He throws me a fastball away, and I hit it off the bricks in center field in Philly, and I was just floating around the bases again, like that. Like, what just happened? You know, like, wow. You know, and then all of a sudden I had to go pinch hit again and strike out to make the last out of that World Series. But all those experiences I would never give away. They're all part of the journey, and just to even be in that situation, you got to feel lucky about. And you know, I prepared every day the same way to try to be successful, and all the failures and the successes, I got no regrets.
2009, you start with Pittsburgh, but you end up with the Yankees. You get back at the Phillies, but you know, and you end up winning that World Series. But Mariano Rivera, Derek Jeter, wearing the pinstripes.
It is. It's when you get traded, when you finally get over to be a Yankee and you put the pinstripes on, there's a certain feeling you get just because of the history of the organization. You know that, you know, all the guys that put this on, or this batting box that you're stepping into, is it's hallowed ground. You know, Babe Ruth. Just, I mean, you can list them all. You know, and for me, Derek Jeter was probably the most professional guy I've ever been around. He was a dude, you know, like he wanted to talk shop when he got there. He wanted to, you know, get on guys, you know, make sure you know if you're doing something wrong, he'd let you know. But just his preparation every day, the way he went about his business, and how he was after the game as a teammate and everything was great. So, and Mariano was you know, super Christian guy, non-drinker, like real serious about his craft, and you know, I faced him probably 20 times and don't remember getting many hits. So he had that on me too.
And the last year I wanted to touch on was 2010, playing for an iconic manager, Bobby Cox. Obviously, Chipper Jones going to be in the Hall of Fame eventually here. What type of teammate? What was it like playing for Bobby Cox?
Bobby was awesome. He was sort of like such a big presence in how famous he was. And he didn't have to say much to get his point across. So it was almost like, you know, you're watching The Sopranos, and he's Tony Soprano sitting there, but he didn't say much. But when he said something, you're like, whoa, Bobby's talking, you know, like. So, but his best skill was he always made you feel like you were doing well even when you weren't. You know, his communication skills as a manager, he never gave up on you. He always made you feel like, hey, you'll get him tomorrow, you'll get him the next at bat. He always had the right thing to say at the right time. And as far as Chipper, my locker was next to Chipper's for 3 years, and I crushed him every day I walked in the clubhouse. He was, it was one of my more fun teammates to have, and we got on each other back and forth for 3 straight years. So we still stay in touch. We're in a fantasy football league together and stuff. So it's pretty cool.
And lastly, and most importantly, perhaps, Metallica or Pantera?
Yeah, I get those questions a lot because, you know, I was younger, walking to this play to some metal music. But my last probably 5 or 6 years, I walked to Pantera. So I'd say Pantera, you know.
Nice.
For sure. Yeah.
Good. Can't go wrong.
All right.
Perfect. Well, Eric, thanks so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
All right, man. Anytime. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
That's Eric Hinske. Best of luck to Eric and the Chicago Cubs the rest of the year. I'm Greg Hofer. Thanks for watching. See you next time.